Secretary of State Griswold, how much did Soros pay you to kick Trump off the ballot?
$10 million.
Why do you take Soros donations? How much did Soros pay you? Hey Antifa, why are you blocking the road? It's illegal. Is this an insurrection? Why are you guys committing an insurrection?
All right, now hold it up here. You don't know what it is.
Punch Nazis, that's nice.
The framers of Section 3 knew from painful experience that those who had violently broken their oaths to the Constitution couldn't be trusted to hold power again because they could dismantle our constitutional democracy from within. The reason we're here is that President Trump tried to disenfranchise 80 million Americans who voted against him, and the Constitution doesn't require that he be given another chance.
That's the move of desperation, total desperation. So the reason we are here is because Trump, he tried to disenfranchise 80 million people. So we from Colorado, we want to do the same thing. We want to do what we said the President Trump tried to do. So he tried to do, we are going to do that because we're going to remove you from the ballot. It makes no sense. That's desperation. I am sure that's going to be 9-0. 9-0. Trump is laughing at this moment. And the only question I have is why they kept listening to him. Why didn't just show him the door? Hey, that's the door. Just leave. Let's continue.
Now, this issue of disenfranchisement came up in particular because Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who was appointed by former President Trump, was asking whether or not Colorado was going to be disenfranchising its voters by not putting Trump on the ballot. We also, though, heard from a liberal justice, Alega Kagan, who was saying, well, why should one state decide who's the president of the United States? So while we don't know exactly what the court is going to do, they did seem to be leaning against Colorado. Vic.
So, you know, I've watched over 400 Supreme Court arguments. I've done 50 myself. I would tell you this argument did not go well for the Trump challengers, and that's to put it mildly. I probably have some other adjectives that I won't say on air. You know, in the thing that I was watching for was any indication anywhere about just how dangerous a ruling to overturn the Colorado Supreme Court was. We heard a lot from the court, particularly the Chief Justice, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Alito, about how if you affirm the Colorado decision, it'll empower states to mess with.
It's priceless. To see the reaction, it's priceless. How sad. How sad. They're ready to celebrate. They're ready to celebrate anything they try to do against Trump, but they are so sad. They are pathetic. They know they have no chance, and they are just in desperation. This is what we see as a Trump derangement syndrome at its best. They are so angry right now that they don't know how to say it. They want to cry. They want to cry because they know it was horrible. They know they're going to lose. They know they have no chance. So what else can they do? Cry. Look at their face. It's priceless.
Created under their Article 1 and Article 2 powers to run elections.
But it would seem that particularly after Reconstruction and after the Compromise of 1877 and during the period of Redeemers, that you would have that kind of conflict. There were a plethora of Confederates still around. There were any number of people who would continue to either run for state offices or national offices. So it would seem that would suggest that there would at least be a few examples of national candidates being disqualified, if your reading is correct.
Well, there were certainly national candidates who were disqualified by Congress refusing to seat them.
I understand that, but that's not this case. Did states disqualify them? That's what we're talking about here. I understand Congress would not seat them.
Other than the example I gave, no. But again, Your Honor, that's not surprising because there wouldn't have been – states certainly wouldn't have the authority to remove a sitting federal officer. So what was the purpose of Section 3? The states were sending people. The concern was that the former Confederate states would continue being bad actors.
And the effort was to prevent them from doing this. And you're saying that, well, this also authorized states to disqualify candidates. So what I'm asking you for, if you are right, what are the examples?
Well, Your Honor, the examples are states excluded many candidates for state office, individuals holding state offices. We have a number of published cases of states considering that.
I understand the states controlling state elections and state positions. What we are talking about here are national candidates.
The more broad point I want to make is that what is very clear from the history is that the framers were concerned about charismatic rebels who might rise through the ranks up to and including the presidency of the United States.
But then why didn't they put the word president in the very enumerated list?
Oh, why didn't they put the word president? Maybe they forgot. Maybe they forgot. What? That's so good. This is priceless.
In Section 3. The thing that really is troubling to me is I totally understand your argument, but they were listing people that were barred, and president is not there. And so I guess that just makes me worry that maybe they weren't focusing on the president. And, for example, the fact that electors of vice president and president are there suggests that really what they thought was, if we're worried about the charismatic person, we're going to bar insurrectionist electors, and therefore that person is never going to rise.
This came up in the debates in Congress over Section 3, where Reverdy Johnson said, why haven't you included president and vice president in the language? And Senator Morrill responds, we have. Look at the language, any office under the United States.
Yes, but doesn't that at least suggest ambiguity? And this sort of ties into Justice Kavanaugh's point. In other words, we had a person right there at the time saying what I'm saying. The language here doesn't seem to include president. Why is that? And so if there's an ambiguity, why would we construe it to, as Justice Kavanaugh pointed out, against democracy?
Like we say, if you want to send a lawyer to argue something like this, choose someone who doesn't have a Trump derangement syndrome. That's not so obvious, because like this is going to be tough. I would say it's going to be 9-0 or maybe 8-1. But I will bet on 9-0 because this is ridiculous. It's one more example of the derangement syndrome, Trump derangement syndrome going crazy around America. God bless America. And that's going to be one more victory for President Trump.